Hello, I'm Sofi Oksanen and I'm in Helsinki, and today is 22nd of May in 2020.
Hello, Sofi Oksanen.
Hello.
Good to see you. How are you feeling and what are you feeling towards all we've been living those last months?
Well, for an author, it's not unusual to be locked in with a manuscript. In that way, for authors, social distancing is kind of something we have to like to be able to write novels. But of course, all this very weird situation is weird also for authors. I was supposed to travel from March to July, and obviously I didn't. Many of my events were cancelled, and book fairs and festivals. So everything had to be rearranged. So I did try to. I came up with an idea because I wanted to do something to compensate all the cancelled events. So I started to stream on my social media my literary Corona kitchen, where I'm cooking and talking about books.
Why was it important to give us something on Instagram, to be with us, to give us a sense of humor, and to transmit this passion of books?
Well, obviously, because I wanted to do something. I already had spent 2 months, January and February, working on a manuscript. So I was really eager actually to meet people, which I was not able to do. So I wanted to do something, and Corona Kitchen seemed like something I can do because, well, I like cooking, but also I think that when I understood that actually now there are a lot of people who usually don't actually cook at home, but now everybody is kind of forced to stay at home. And also when I went to the groceries, I understood that actually people are stocking up. So people have a lot of food at home. So my idea was to focus on food that everybody has at home, like tuna, crushed tomatoes, things like that. And I was thinking when I saw the empty tuna shelves that people are going to be very fed up with the tuna pretty soon. So I was trying to, entertain a bit and also to give alternatives for those who are newbies in cooking. But also at the same time, when we can't go to movies, we can't go to theater, then actually what we can do at home is to read. And therefore I was trying to, perhaps give, tips what to read, but also because the schools were closed. So I understood that there are quite many students and pupils at home doing their homework related to books. So I was encouraging also them to ask me questions, because of course this was quite a lot for teachers as well.
Of course. Now you can't live without reading and writing. Are there even more your home? And now that the outside world, seems so dangerous.
Well, what I think is that, home is the safest place. At least, of course, the domestic violence is obviously a problem that can be even a bigger problem if you have to stay at home and you cannot reach for help. But in principle, the home is the safest place. And also perhaps why this combination of kitchen and literature seemed very natural to me, is because of the kitchen talk dating back to Soviet Union. Because in Soviet Union, actually, there were you didn't have too many places where you could have a political conversation. You couldn't go to your workplace to speak with your co-workers about politics. You couldn't go to cafes to talk about politics. There were not that many public places actually where to talk about politics. So that's why the kitchen talk was very important in Soviet Union, and the kitchen was a place where you shared the forbidden memories as well from one generation to another. And so in that way, in Soviet Union, actually the kitchen was the safest place to talk. So this is probably also why it was kind of very natural for me to combine the literature and cooking and kitchen. So yeah, that's how it went.
You live in Finland, but you're very attached to Estonia, where your roots lie, and
Yeah.
you talk about this country also in your novels that are published in France at Stock. How did the corona crisis is dealt in those two countries, whether it's Finland or whether it's Estonia?
Well, in Finland, there's something, something that makes perhaps corona a bit easier to handle with, or you cannot say handle with at the moment, but deal with, because we have lots of space. Of course, public transportation is a problem. But if you go to a Helsinki subway, then it's not like a Paris subway. There's simply less people. So I think this is something that that's. Or at least I think that it's. I can't imagine how complicated it can be in a metropole or bigger cities, but in Finland we have lots of space, and also Finns are actually, well, social distancing is is something we are all born with in a way, and it has been only over the past 10 years perhaps that Finns have started to greet people with kisses like French. Usually Finns are, even the handshake, this is the handshake country, but even handshake is not that, it's more, when I think about when I was a child, then people, when you met new people, then people didn't shake hands that much either. So in that way, Finns are very, social distancing is something we are born with, and these European and modern ways to greet people with kisses or hugs or things like that. So this is new. So in a way, I feel a bit sad that now that we have learned to be like more Europeans and more social, then certainly it's like the whole world is actually welcoming this habit of not being that social, which is very natural for Finns.
And what about Estonia?
Well, Estonia has been very effective, in my opinion, when it comes to the virus. They've had this slogan 2+2. 2+2 has been their guideline all the time. That is that only two people can meet, and with a distance of 2 meters. So they started with 2+2 pretty early. But of course, the problem at the moment is the ferry traffic that doesn't exist at the moment, not for passengers. And actually, we just opened the first. So if you have family or if you need to travel for work, then you can actually now travel. But it has a huge economical impact on Estonian economy too, if we don't have the ferries sailing, because, and of course from Finnish and Estonian point of view, especially we are located on the map in a way that we do need actually the aviation, and we do need the ferry traffic as well. So this is very complicated.
Mm-hmm. You once said in an interview that all nations have untold stories, which interests you as a writer, of course. What is this coronavirus revealing about the untold stories of the world and of our societies?
Well, when crisis hits the nation, and now it hits all nations of the world, then it looks like that every single country thinks that their strategy is the best, which I think it is interesting. Or that, and on the other hand, it is understandable, but at the present we don't actually know what is the best strategy. Except that we do know that what is for sure, that we need to wash our hands, and we definitely need to distance ourselves to other people. This is something I guess we can say is definitely working. But otherwise, the difference is we cannot actually sure whether we need to close down the schools or not. We did, but I don't know what is nobody knows what is actually the best strategy. And of course, then it's Sweden, where they their idea or the strategy is to trust people, but not to have like strict rules, because they want to trust their people. But also their legal system is different. For example, they don't have the same possibilities than in Finland, which every country's legal system is connected to their history. And in Finland, we did take the, I don't know if the exact translation is the martial law, but the law for the exceptional circumstances, which they don't have in Sweden. But in Finland we have, thanks to the history. So we are prepared for war. Let's say it like that. We were not exactly prepared for the pandemic, but we were prepared for the situation where we need to use unusual methods. And in Sweden, they wouldn't have the legal possibility to do this. So that's also one reason where they have the different strategy.
Mm-hmm. Now you're talking about history, which is very present in your book, in all of your books, history and its traumas. History was often told by men, but you showed us also that, of course, it can be and must be told by women. Do you think that women will take this coronavirus one day as writers and tell us this story in a different way?
Definitely, yes. Because even though I said that home is the safest place for us all at the moment, then historically speaking, home is not the safest place for women. Women meet much more violence at home than men. Men meet more violence when they are out there in the world. And I'm pretty sure that there will be very interesting corona literature in the future. That is definitely for sure. And of course, what is also interesting, and I'm sure that there will be a lot of interesting stories to share about the speculating, because even in Finland, where we think that our country is not corrupt, then actually when we think about all the the masks, the healthcare needs, then actually we did have a very weird. The state was buying masks from the very corrupt businessmen and reality TV star, which became a very weird situation. And then also when I think about how the support, the aid money for the companies is distributed at the moment in Finland, then we've had incidents that I'm sure will look very weird in the future when all this will be sorted out. Because it is also what this virus is revealing is that it is revealing also corruption in the country. Even though we do have a low corruption rate, definitely in Finland, then even we have very weird speculation cases.
Now, your novels often speak about madness, anxiety, also about the body and the identity. Would you say that this coronavirus reminds us how fragile are the borders, the bodies, and the minds?
Definitely, yes. And it also reminds us of the importance of the science. When I think about over the past few years, then, for example, anti-vaccination has been getting more and more popular. I don't know the situation in France, but for example, in Russia, anti-vaccination is, I could even call it a movement. And it's also something that's been a smaller movement and for different reasons, but movement anyway, also in Finland. And it looks like that when populism is on the rise, then also anti-vaccination is on the rise. And I think this is a reminder that I think one reason why anti-vaccination has been popular is that people don't actually remember what it was like to have diseases without cure, a disease with no vaccination, and what it actually means. We had forgotten that, and this is reminding us about the importance of vaccinations. And that is definitely, if you have to find something good about it, all this, then I think that this might be, stop for anti-vaccination getting more popular, I hope.
You wrote an opera that's called Innocence, and that will be played, I think, is it still programmed on the 4th of July?
It's good.
Oh, sorry. But the opera.
But we are anyway trying to find alternative solutions. So I'm hoping that we will find a good alternative solution.
Okay, but the opera still exists. It's called Innocence. Would you say that in those times we lost a part of innocence?
Could be. That's a good question. It might be, yes. Or at least childlike faith in people being like gods. Well, we are not. We are humans. So on the other hand, I think if you try to think positively, then at the same time, I think there's more people are supporting each other a bit more than, people are actually helping out, trying to help out people who cannot go out, for example. So there's neighbor help also in Finland. And so there's there's some sort of team spirit, I'd say it like that, which I'm hoping that we won't lose it when someday this will be over. Or then on the other hand, perhaps there will be some other disease, who knows. But anyway, I think there's also caring is getting a little bit more attention, and its meaning is kind of highlighted.
And what have you been learning about yourself?
new technology. This has been a crash course on all sorts of technological gadgets, and also I've learned a lot when I have been streaming my Corona kitchen. Then I have learned quite a lot about social media as well. So things I wouldn't have learned perhaps otherwise. So learning is a good thing.
Well, thank you, Sophie. It was so great to hear you. Please take care, and I wish you the best.
You too, and I'm very much looking forward to being able to travel France. I miss France.
And we miss you too. Take care.
You too. Bye.
Bye.